rated, I would say PG-13, right? Only because I don't want you to get the impression that there's one way to do it. There's only one wrong way to do lean. And I'm not apologetic about saying the word lean anymore. I was for a while. You know, I would say continuous improvement, or now I'm in your face lean guy. And I think more from a perspective of the Detroit Production System, TPS, because that's what kind of brings in some of the stuff we're going to talk about. But the title is Lean as a Business Program versus a Business Strategy versus a Program. I want to dedicate this first to Michael. He's 3 months pregnant. He looks great. And we know it's a boy, so he can decorate the room. It's also the first time, like this is one of the first times I'm looking to get out of Dur-A-Flex. I consider one of my customers now. I'm there a couple times a week. But my goal is to be able to go out and maybe help some companies. And I know it's kind of nice to be out. I'm in a bunker. But anyway. Can we agree? Now, lean is not conventional wisdom, right? Can we agree to that? Yeah. All right? And the way I think about it is, you know, conventional wisdom is going to yield us conventional results. All right? If you think a little bit differently, you're going to get a little bit different results, I think. Lean is a huge leap of faith. There's things that we talk about in lean that, I mean, executives will scratch their head. I hired a new president a year ago. Bob and I did over at Dur-A-Flex, and we tell him what we do when he first came, and he's like, huh? But it's definitely not. It's definitely a leap of faith. It's hard. It's not easy. I mean, there's easier ways to make a living, for sure. It doesn't have to be root canal surgery. You can have some fun. That's one of the things I learned, I think, over the years. And then I think the big thing for me is that me changing your process is disrespectful. And that took me about 5, 6 years to learn. But me changing your process is disrespectful. All right, so let's go through them. Not conventional wisdom. Well, let's see. If I keep less stuff, I'll be able to take care of my customers faster. That makes sense, right? Right on target. You know what? If we do all this lean stuff, how are people going to do their regular jobs? We're not going to have time. That makes sense, right? Wait a minute. I love you, Bill. You tell me we're going to do double capacity? We're going to make twice as much stuff with the same number of us? And I'm not going to be running around sweating? Come on. You're trying to kid. Hey, you know what? That stuff works other places, but we don't make cars. All right, we make flooring chemicals. Wait a minute. I'm not in production. I'm in marketing. Doesn't work for me. That works for them. And then, hey, wait a minute. I just bought this ERP system. Actually, I hired Connstep back in 1998, I'd say, to buy this cool $1 million ERP system. And then we got into lean. I turned the thing off pretty much. So how's that? It's a good return on investment. 5 years. Actually, we still run the same thing, okay? Except no one looks at it except for our accountants. Okay?
When Michael was a baby.
I tell you what, I wish I turned it off earlier. But we don't look at sales at all. Because sales used to determine our mood. Okay? If sales were out the window, we'd be happy. Woohoo! And when sales stunk, we were all glum. What are we going to do? We have meetings about it. So stop looking at the scoreboard. I call that scoreboard watching. It's like the basketball player on the line in the NCAA tournament. They're down by 10 with 2 minutes to play. And the kid's on the line like this, and he's got his shorts pulled down to here, and he's looking back at the scoreboard. What does that tell you? You're beat. You're done. No more scoreboard watching. All dashboard stuff. People will display ownership qualities. That's a big leap of faith. I mean, I hear it everywhere I go. You know, you can do that with your people. You can never work here. I don't believe it. I'm dealing with, besides Dur-A-Flex, I have another client that I'm working with right now. I'm doing an internship. I'm not getting paid. I want to see if I want to be a consultant. But they're saying the same thing. Hey, that worked up there because you got great people. My people, you know what? People at Dur-A-Flex, at Hartford, Latin Kings, we had. You know, we had fights. We had people pulling knives. That's a huge one. They will display ownership qualities only if you get out of the way. You got to get out of the way, though. Okay? All the managers and leaders got to get out of the way. Cash flow will improve almost immediately, and you guys probably have seen that already. You know, the people that are already doing this, you're going to see huge gains very quickly. So it's going to improve immediately. And then one of the things that I said to our folks back in 2004, and no one believed me, and that was that, folks, Imagine this world where we double our sales and we don't add anyone. Well, we went from 20 million to $32 million in sales over a 4-year period, and we didn't add one person. So what does that mean to those people? They're making more money, because we're not throwing bodies at all these sales. And then you get off the Wall Street roller coaster. 2008 for me was probably the most satisfying year, even though our sales were down 22%. We're, at Dur-A-Flex, we serve the construction industry, and right after Wall Street went wacko, there was nothing going on. We're down 22%, yet we didn't lay anyone off. Because all you do is downshift. This stuff works. That was the best test. And all our folks were coming to us, I've told Bonnie this, and they were saying, hey, Bill, am I okay? My mother-in-law, my grandfather, my brother, they got laid off. Am I okay? Yeah, you're okay. We're just going to cut all our processes in half again, time-wise. That's our goal for this year. We didn't lay anyone off. Everyone got their 3 or 4% in April, and then at the end of the year, we were able to give them a small bonus too. It works. And we're going to stop throwing bodies in meetings at problems. All right, lean's hard, okay? That's me when I started my journey, right there. Thin, bigger, ready to roll, take on the world. And here's the beaten old, what's left, all right? A lot of it is, I'll tell you, a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about, it took me 6 months, a year of going backward to learn the lessons. And I think a lot of it is ego-driven. People, I had whole entire parts of my company that didn't talk to me when I started. I'm asking people to get in the room once a week on a Wednesday from 9 to 10 and read a chapter and do a quiz. And they're saying, hey, wait a minute, I didn't get hired to do that. But you know what? I had something that we probably don't have. We were hemorrhaging in 2004. We were bleeding out every pore in our body. We had a rough 2004. So we had no choice. We had to keep going. Right? We had to do something different, because what we were doing sure as hell wasn't working. Anyway, it's not, there are easier ways to make a living, but it is so worth it. Because lean can be fun. And here's some stuff. Here's some of the things that we do, okay? Dur-A-Flex University, you might know about that. It's a 40-credit course, 12 courses, and some electives. We do things like we lead people around blindfolded. This is our university registration. This is our beer making class. That's one of our electives. A couple of guys in our company make beer, at home. So they said, hey, I'd love to teach people how to do that. So we had a class. Probably one of the funnest final exams ever. Get to taste everybody's beer. Little cups though, guys. And everything is at 12 o'clock, 12 to 1. That's a foam. We had a urethane class. That's one of the, this is Say-So. This is we have like a boot camp, and that's turkeys at Thanksgiving, for how much exercise people can do. But anyway, you can have some fun with it. And here's the other one is me changing your process is disrespectful. I think people love to give up their power. Hey, I just work here. You tell me what to do and I'll do it. When you tell me when to stop, I'll stop. I think the key thing is, can people take ownership in their life? And Bob has said this to me. This is one of the reasons I want to become a consultant. He's been telling me for 20 years, you know what? Do what you want to do. When you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror and you decide you don't want to be here, don't be here. Please. Don't give away your power. He's tells that to everybody. For a long, long time. You own your life. Okay? You need to develop a pretty good spirit of implementation. My role changes to I'm here to ask questions. I do a lot of that, and that frustrated people for a couple of years. Because I used to be the genius. I formulated, there was 11 of us when we started, so I made most of our formulas. So people say, oh, let's go see Bill, he knows. You know how much of an anchor that is for a company? To have that one guy? Or two people that know everything? So you want to try to develop a sense of experimentation where people are fearless. Hey, if it doesn't work, we'll go back and try what we did. We'll go back to the old way. Who cares? I'm here to remove barriers, and there's not that many anymore, but in the beginning there were a lot. I'll get into that a little bit. And I think this came from Carmen Brickner. You guys know Carmen? There's 3 or 4 statements that you've heard over during your journey, and the one that always sticks in my mind is, who the hell are you to empower anyone? And that was during my CICC class, and she said it during her section, and I chewed on that for so long. Like in other words, here I am, and I have a whole bunch of power. and I'm gonna hand you some of my power, and I'm gonna empower you. I'm not there to empower anybody. I can't empower anyone. They have the power. All I gotta do is get myself out of the way from an ego standpoint. All the real thinking, all the real brains are the people that are doing the jobs every day. They're the world's expert. The guy who does Dur-A-Guard at Dur-A-Flex, he's the world's expert at making our epoxy paint. You wanna know what's wrong? Well, ask him. All right, anyway, and I'm gonna look at two different things two different ways, and what I kind of see. And you know what, guys? I have a little bit of experience in consulting because I trained about 120 of our customers through the university. We decided, hey, you know what? This worked out so well for us. Let's go out and see if we can help other people. So we brought people in for 3 days, and then I gave them this. We gave them an intense course in the lean tools and some culture stuff, and Bob's philosophy stuff is big. I'll touch on that a little bit too. And then I went out and visited them. And a lot of times they go at it this way. I got one guy that learns, maybe he has a recruit or two, and then he tries to take it and bring it into these different departments. You know what? And drive it into the organization. And what I think eventually my vision was, could we have a whole bunch of teachers? Like, could I make a population of teachers? That was the thing. Okay? And again, there's no right way or wrong way. I'm just telling you what I did. All right, now before we start, the P4. I'm really upset with some people around because I thought this was genius. I stole this from Toyota Way. If you look at the chapters in Toyota Way, this is pretty much what they are. But the P4 became something huge. But then I find out that LEI stole some of it. They're using what, the 3 Ps. Isn't that awful? They stole them. Anyway, first is philosophy and purpose, and that's a North Star right there. The second is develop your people and partners. The right process will produce the right result. That's a core belief that we have. And then embrace and make your problems as visible as possible. And I think of it like I'm riding a unicycle, tapping my head, rubbing my belly, and chewing gum. And I gotta learn how to do that all at once. All right, and I'm not gonna be very good at it. I'm still not great at it. But that's kind of where my consciousness has to be, where my thinking has to be. It has to be all 4 of those things. The first one's the philosophy part. And I got I'm a football guy, so there's Belichick. A perfectly good philosophy is we build leaders. That's a great philosophy. Because you're going to change everything you do if that's your philosophy of your company. Or it could be we're going to become a learning organization. And that's kind of where we went with it. We're no longer manufacturers of chemicals or adhesives or anything like that. We are now a learning organization. So that changed everything. It changed all the thinking. It got us going down the right direction. Or it could be what our founding father thought of. Mitchell Landreski. What was his purpose for starting Dur-A-Flex? For companies that have been around a long time, you lose that. But whatever it is, and this took us a couple of years to figure out. What's our purpose? What's our philosophy for being? It can't be that. Because if it's that, if you don't have a purpose, then it's that. And it's not really that, but that's what everybody thinks. We're just here to get him a bigger house. The guy in the big office there, we're here to take care of him. I think when our ownership philosophy, we started bringing people in and looking at the numbers. And it's interesting. The first time we did it, we actually took our financials and threw them up on the board with 80 people in a room. Hey, why not? Let's do it. And a week or 2 after that, no one talked to me. But as I walked through the plant, hey, morning, George. Get the look. It was right around Christmas, too. We had a big Christmas party, and Bob calls everybody up one at a time. Everybody clapped, no one clapped. I walked up there, crickets. You know why? Because after we showed the financials, I finally got to the bottom of it. You mean to tell me you're making $20 million a year, and this is what I get? So we realized, we gotta teach them. We gotta teach. We want to be owners, we gotta teach them. So we did. We went through it all. We don't get to keep all 20 million or 25 million. Just like your house, we have to go through all that. We have bills to pay and everything else. The other one is, what are you good at? That could also be what your purpose or philosophy is. You do things faster, you do things better, you have the best customer service. But it can't be, if you don't have one, that's what I learned. It's like, then everyone assumes that, hey, they're just in it to make money. You'd be amazed, a number of people say, hey, why are you in business? What's the first thing that comes up? It can't be that. Develop your people and partners. And this is the expensive part of what we did. Very expensive. We stopped, I don't even want to do the math anymore. When I look at on a Wednesday morning for an hour, having 80 people, you know, and you start thinking about, okay, insurance and salary, and I think our accountant tried to do that. You know how much this meeting's costing us? Best investment ever. And all it really started was getting people together. Yeah, maybe you can't, we didn't start with a university, but we started just getting people together. We made it important. We had to demonstrate as a leadership team that it was important. And how do you make sure that everyone knows it's important? You take attendance. So everybody's name would be on the board, on the overhead. And I go, Joe, and we go through it. It would take 5–10 minutes. Or when they walk in, and everybody would see. And then I'm really good at Excel. So if there's no X in the box, it turns red. Woo. They see red in their name. Red's no good. Hey, Joe, you're red. You better show up next week. And then, we made sure we demonstrated it was important by going out onto the floor all the time and saying, hey, Joe, you weren't there. What happened? We need you. And there was a revolt. We had a mini revolution. I didn't get hired for that. But you know what Bob did? My neighbor Bob, he's the owner of the company, just in case you don't know. I'm going to say Bob a lot because I love this guy. He got 80 copies of Chicken Little, I think it is, Mother Hen. I think I told you guys about it. He handed it out to everybody. It's one where the hen wants to plant the garden. You can't get any volunteers. And then it's time to weed the garden. There's no volunteers. Then it's time to pick the vegetables. There's no volunteers. So then the bread's being made. And everybody's like, hey, here I am. And it's like a second grade book. But he handed it out. And the message was beautiful. Hey, we're hemorrhaging. We're screwed. And you don't have to come if you don't want to. But the hint was, if you come, you probably get a little more bread than the others. So that kind of tied everything together. That little book really helped me so much. And I did have the advantage that A, we're hemorrhaging, and B, I had Bob, the owner of the company, who was saying, yeah, this is important. Yeah. So anyway, these are some of the things we do at the university stuff. People are together all the time. And like Bonnie said, when I first started this, we had all the black guys in the black row, all the Jamaican guys were over here, the girls in the office were in the front, the chemists were all together. I'd be in the front of the room, and I'd be trying to get everybody pumped up, and they'd be staring at the wall, the floor, anything but me, okay? And they say, hey, you know what, hey, if we don't even pay attention, he'll stop. No way, man, no way. And I don't know, it was stubbornness or whatever. It's probably the reason for that picture I showed you with the hair and all, with getting beat up, but every Wednesday, and then we ended up doing it twice. We broke everybody in half, okay? But the beauty of it was, people are together. How many times in your company are people together? Like from different areas. And all of a sudden you say, you know what? Pedro's smart. Holy crap. Because you know what? When we started handing out the quizzes, it wasn't the people that went to college like me that had the quizzes done and got hundreds. You'd be amazed. And all of a sudden the folks that everybody's thinking, like, you're kind of downplaying Pedro. Well, guess what? Pedro is a captain now. Before, Pedro was making coloring sand and put it in a bag and sewing it. Guess what? It's an opportunity for Pedro to show, hey, you know what, I'm no dumb dog. So that's the university stuff, okay? This is our registration again. It's a big deal. We're kind of going in a little bit of a different direction. Our new president is a medical guy, so we're doing a lot of green belt, or white belt, yellow, green, black belt training, some Six Sigma training. So we're going to another little bit of a different direction with this, but the university is still intact. As long as you keep continuously improving, and people say, hey, people are our #1 asset. I love to hear that. I love it. So my question is, what do you do for them? Oh, they're #1. Our employees are the best, the greatest. That's the reason for being. Well, what do you do for them? Do you spend 1 hour a week with them? Every single person in your, that was a goal for me. Could I invest 1 hour per week in all 80? And guess who was in the front row of my class every single week? Anybody want to guess? Got $1. Tell me. Bob. Who said Bob? Oh, you $1, Jerry. $1. Bob was there every single class. He took the tests. So did we demonstrate that it was important? That's key. Okay. The right process will produce the right result, and this is symbolized with the toolbox, and here's all our tools. This is the kind of what, when I got done with my CIC class, I grabbed my toolbox, and I went charging out into the plant and said, hey, folks, stop for a second. We're going to have a meeting Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, from 8 to 12, and it's called the Kaizen. You're going to come, and I got these tools I want to show you, and here they all are, tools. You guys are very good at tools. Tools are fun. The 5 S's. Hey, what tool is that? That one right there. That's point of use storage. I'm no good, huh? That's A3. This turned out to be the biggest tool that we have at Dur-A-Flex. Thousands of A3. And it's basically, it's a methodology, it's a respectful way of solving problems very quickly. So the lead department again, now, you know, you got the one guy who got all the training and he maybe recruits a couple and they got their tools and they kind of go drive it down. These are all the people with regular jobs. That's kind of how I think about it. You know, see, these guys have this is a lead department, so this is what I think about every day, and then these are the people with the regular jobs, right? Elevate your problem to make them that's the third P. Not easy, because problems are, people like to hide problems. We did. How's things going? Terrific! Wonderful! Great! So this little guy here this is a problem, and that's Cupid. You embrace them, they're the root of our curriculum. University is only one opportunity on a weekly basis of getting people together and doing some, developing your people. There's also, on Wednesdays and Tuesdays and Thursdays, each value stream has their separate meetings where they go through the problems. They know now how to solve problems. You don't sit in meetings where people are looking at the floor because they're used to being in groups and learning. A matter of fact, some of the folks that were sitting in the back of the room are now, they've gone through a 4-week course on how to teach a class. You know, so they can put together a PowerPoint presentation for a 10-week curriculum. And they're in front of the class just like I am right now. You know, and that's kind of what I want to get to. That's what you want to get to. And then you make your problems as visible as possible. So all these learners that you've created, learners and teachers that you've created, they can go and take care of the problems. But don't hide them. Now, I told you that it's hard. And this is going to be, how many of you guys are lean champions? I know, over here. This is the toughest part. Nothing ever looks good, ever. Everything's too awful. And particularly when I go off to conferences or I go visit on plant tours, I come back, I gotta lock myself in a room because I'm just so miserable. I look at, this is our plant right now. Here's what I see. Believe me, that's what I see. Nothing is ever good enough. So you have to understand that going in, that's the mindset after a while. Otherwise, you're just going to tear yourself apart, okay? So this is kind of my vision. This is how we did it, where you have all these things happening. You have the philosophy, and people know. What's the philosophy of Dur-A? Everybody in the company has to know that. You have people learning, 50% learning, 50% teaching, all throughout the company, everyone. And that's kind of like the job description for a person at Dur-A-Flex, is that. It's no longer, like I always like to think about it as, I'm no longer a cardiologist of the left ventricle in my heart. I'm a general practitioner that makes house calls. That's how I like to think about it at Gemba. I mean, leadership is going to be the biggest hurdle. That's going to be the biggest hurdle. Because there's an ego shift that has to happen where I'm no longer the expert. Now I'm the dumbbell. I ask a lot of questions. And the dumber I can act, the more people will think. And I'm not acting either, to be honest with you. I'll go over to people now and there'd be a doorbell ringing or something. I'll hear ding ding. I'll go running out there. What's that for? Oh, that's our new andon. So when customers, if this customer order pickup rate isn't ready, that's what happens. Wow, that's beautiful. It's amazing how many times things like that happen throughout the company. And so anyway, let me tie it up. I know time's short, but to me, lean strategic planning is very scary. I don't know if it is for you guys. Like for me to understand where this big boat is going to be somewhere down the road is very scary. You can make a lot of mistakes. I think a lean strategy where I think it's easy. It's a lot easier on us. There's a lot less room for error. You know, I believe that your company's strategy can be lean. You know, we're gonna, because believe me, if you gotta be able to increase the number of people, the number of orders that go out the door without adding people, what does that mean for your business? It keeps what's your biggest cost? People. And there's only two things that lean does for it. One is capacity, the other is cash. That's why we were hemorrhaging, and that's why a lot of businesses go under. Probably the #1 reason why most businesses fail is cash. You're swimming in cash all of a sudden. Make sure your philosophy is not the money. develop your people and partners, the right process and produce the right result, and then embrace your problems. So those are the 4 Ps from this little mind. People asking what that thing is there, this guy? Yeah, my nephew back in November gave me a T-shirt, my godson actually, of a honey badger. So I went and watched the video, and then I said, you know what? It sounds like pretty good properties of a lean leader, the honey badger. So that's what that's about. I do have a Twitter account if you want to follow me. I post blogs like 3 times a week, and all it is just my ramblings. But anybody have any thoughts? Questions? Challenges? What are your challenges? What do you see getting in the way of becoming a learning organization?
Management.
Management. They just won't let it happen?
Well, they're not champions, so they're pushing it down, expecting us to do it
Yep.
when they're not preaching it or acting
Here's a thought for you.
the role.
Here's a suggestion. And this came from a guy by the name of Michael Belay. He and his father wrote a book called The Gold Mine, and I went to one of his conferences years ago. And he's another one of those Carmen Brickner moments. And I kind of said the same thing to him because, you know, although I had Bob and we had a huge lever and that we were hemorrhaging, I kind of said to him, you know, I got things going in production. We've saved all kinds of money. You know, we got cash like crazy. Our inventory's been dropped. I can't get some of our leadership team to buy in. You know, they were giving lip service to it all, but they weren't really doing anything. And Michael, bless his heart, I wanted to punch him in. He said, I will tell you what, and he's a French guy. He said, I will tell you why you will not like it. And this is in front of a room full of people. There ought to be 100 people in the room. I said, all right, why? He goes, because you are not good enough. And I was like, you're right. I don't like it. But then I got on a plane, and I went home, and I chewed on it. Because he followed that up with saying, you know what, you haven't done anything to demonstrate that they should play. So it became for me like a mirror-looking thing. That was frustrated as hell. Like I'm seeing all these results and saying, man, we can do it here, we can do it here, I'm ready to go, I got my tools, I'm all set. My suggestion would be just start with your realm of influence and make that where everybody says, heck, they're going over there. Whoa. Because the other thing is, you know, lead is not fun and time, but the other part of it is, I have to be able to walk into Dymax and see a difference. I got to see something where I don't have to say, all right, what was the lean stuff? You said you did some lean. Oh, we did this. Oh. You walk in, you're like, whoa, madam. So start with your little, whatever that sphere of influence is, whatever rope you're given, take that. Whether it's, and basically that's what I had to do. Begin. All I had was Bob, but just because I have Bob, you can't take a horse with a gun, you know, bring them the water, but they're not going to drink. But once people started seeing, wow, I can go home at 5 o'clock. Wow, I don't have to be here till 9 o'clock at night. How come that? And I started in the sand department. You know, so my Connstep project, my CICC project was the hardest value stream in the whole company, which is really good. I'm glad it happened that way. You know, we did some bizarre things down there, and we laugh at it. But just that one little sphere, whatever that is, take that and make that your domain, and then dominate. And then everyone else will be like, hey, how come she's not going to help us? Start the trial. Don't give up.
I will.
Yeah, unions. I mean, there was no union. I had a lot of things going in my favor. The biggest one being we were hemorrhaging. If you're not hemorrhaging, the other thought is, what's your lever? If you don't really have a great lever, like a reason to change, and even if you don't have one, folks, make one up. Because I think that's what Toyota's done so well through the years. You know, and that is, if we don't do this, they think they're this far from extinction all the time. And we don't, obviously don't. You know, there's just not enough reason to, why should I change? We got us this far. So if you could possibly create a lever, make one up and then make it as visible as possible. If we don't do this, we will die is the best one. I like to use the example of your doctor said, you know, you say, I want to lose 5 pounds. Well, that's wonderful. But the doctor says if you don't lose 5 pounds within 5 weeks, what happens? You're going to die. What would you do? Have you jump a rope again and treadmill every day?
Lose it in a day. bonus, or do you split that bonus out on a quarterly basis, so there's like a little bit of, you know, so they can taste that success, or, I don't know.
Tom, I look at it, it's what I call trust equity, because again, you don't really have much except, the reason this thing was embraced a little bit was because the first time ever we didn't have bonuses at the end of that year, you know, and people were like disgruntled like crazy. You know, there's all kinds of groups of people that were just, they're ready to quit, there's a lot of beat up. And basically, I got up in front of them and I said, listen, what would it be like if you could do 35 hours or 30 hours work week, and everything's out the door, shipped, and everything's done, and you get paid the same amount of money? Or what if you don't have to come in on Saturdays? Bill, you're crazy. And then the biggest issue I have is changing my ego. I was always the enforcer at the company. Customer would say, I can't get this out the door. And I'd run out in the plant, hey, this needs to go out today, move it. You know, and I screwed that up a couple times. Because I'm starting to think about, you know, ownership for people and getting out of the way. You can't make a mistake on that. So a lot of this is the trust part too, and talking to them differently on a daily basis, being with people all the time, and asking, what do you think? Do what you need to do. You know, and showing them trust. I can't say that, you know, if we had a year where no one got a bonus or a raise, that, you know, there wouldn't be some kind of a little revolt, but I think it's just that trust equity has to be there. I have to demonstrate. The biggest change is in you as a leader. It has to be. And people will trust you.
I'd be curious to know, for people in the room, when you think about the people that are running your companies, and in many cases it's going to be you, or you're certainly close to the top, where do you fall in the spectrum between being the ego-driven, hey, go out and do it, versus the more the coach? Because that's truly the shift that you're talking about, and even if you're not getting the buy-in from the top, as Bill said, that you have that ability to be that create that pocket of excellence in your own area, but you've got to be able to feel the power in yourself and encourage other people to have that power. Because you can't make somebody do something. People are motivated by the time they're 18 years old. It doesn't change. A lot of it's genetic. You can only lead people to water and let them drink.
You have to make a huge assumption.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really even an assumption. It's that people are, they're not there, they're there to do a good job, and they're not dumb. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I hear so many, I'm working with a company right now saying, well, you know what, we want to get these preventive maintenance things done, but shift after shift happens and they don't get done. And then they start talking about, you know who it is, Pete, or Joe, or Dave. And I'm like, time out. Let's assume, can we assume for 1 minute that Pete or Joe, they're they care. Let's assume they don't get out of their car and say, hey, I'm gonna screw them today by not doing the PMs. That's what I'm gonna do. That's on my agenda list 1, no PM. And 2, let's not assume they're not stupid. And then, here's the biggest that I've learned, is how do we hire someone? We're in love. Hey, this is Bill. Isn't he great? Hey, Bill, this is your office, this is where you start. And then a year or 2 later, how are we gonna get rid of this guy? If we get rid of him, everything will be solved. So as a leader, what did I do for Bill? What did I do for Bill? Anytime I let somebody go, what have I done for him? How have I let it go like this? That's a great question. But you know, answer your question, Tom. A lot of the reason that we started the university and all the learning was a guy named Ozzie Williams. Ozzie, his day was spent with a drum of epoxy, putting pigment in a drum and spinning it. And then when it got done, he'd take a sample, give it to quality control, bring it down to pouring, pour it off. He's 50 years old, he's got 4 or 5 kids. He said to me, hey Bill, do you mean to tell me I'm gonna be making epoxy until I retire? That's what he did. Punch in, he made epoxy, he punched out, he went home. That really got me thinking. You know, so what other opportunities are there in your company where people can feel like, that was me, guys, I'm the reason why we're doing better. And what if you had 80 people like that? You know, I think you'll see it built on itself, a big snowball. But the first thing is you gotta trust people. And people will be trustworthy if you trust them. And things like, all the paper goods and all the stationery, we lock that up. And the batteries and the gloves and all that, we lock that up too, you know. The stamp machine, we gotta have a log next to that. in case somebody wants to use, take a stamp on their personal envelope, like we sabotage ourselves. Dur-A-Flex is a little wacky, and not so much anymore, but I don't care about what time guys come back from break. I don't think about it. Bob hired me, he said, I love you, Bill, I'd love to hire you. When do you want to start? How about Monday? I mean, how about 2 weeks? I have to get it. Yeah, I was at Dimex. Go, all right, I'll see you then. I go, Bob, what are you gonna pay me? Like when I met him, I just knew. I said, this guy's something else. And then I said to him, when I sat down, I said, Bob, how much vacation do I get? My wife was saying, hey, ask him how much vacation you get. So finally I got around to ask him, hey Bob, how much vacation do I get? And he said, take what you need. How many people I've hired that I've said that to, and you know how many people don't take vacation? Once you take it off, if I say, hey, you get two weeks and 3 days, how many days do you think people take? 2 weeks, 3 days. All right? You tell them you can have as much as you want, you'd be amazed. But it's that expression of, hey, we all do the same thing. We're all just as valuable to the company. Your job is no more important than mine. Mine is no more important than yours. We all have a role. You got to do it all the time. And I'll be honest, first to tell you, I reverted back. And I blew up 6 months worth of trust equity. One time by going out and saying, I said ship it! You're supposed to ship it! Damn it! I blew it. I had to start over. See, same Bill. Yeah, he's talking all this in the meetings. So it's just being consistent in yourself and being disciplined in yourself as a leader.
How long did it take for you to shift? Because it didn't obviously happen overnight.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Was it years?
Yeah, it was years. Because again, things like, what you're doing is, I'm sure you guys, people that are doing this, you guys probably deal a little bit of coldness at times in the company, and it affects you. You rot your stomach out a little bit. You say, God, I like to be liked. I like people to say hi to me at least. But let me tell you, when 2008, when Wall Street went off the cliff, at the end of the year, we had, instead of a golf